Hi, I'm Linda Gemlick, Business Development Manager with UFS. I had the pleasure of talking to bankers recently about their experiences as we move through the COVID-19 crisis. I'm sharing the second round of those conversations with you so we can continue to gain valuable insight. It's hard to believe we've been living in these unprecedented times for almost 2 months now. For many individuals, work and personal lives have been changed significantly. How have your routines changed?
Significantly, like you said. Probably the foremost thing is trying to get all the employees to face in the same direction. You know, everyone has a different level of concern. And in the early stages, you'd have some people that would be irrational. You had some people that would be too stoic. And to constantly communicate with them to kind of relieve the fears of the some that were too anxious and kind of boast up the seriousness of the ones that were taking it a little bit too cavalier was probably my first task that as the bank president that I had to undertake. And it took me a while to understand just how to do that. And it was really communicating and calling everyone together at 8 o'clock in the morning and letting them voice their concerns, as well as letting them understand that I knew it was an issue, that we would take the precautions. But at the same time, there was an important value of maintaining all bank services for our customers. We couldn't just shut down the shop because their assets are here and they need access to them. So it took us a while to develop a plan, but the most important part was getting to the employees first and getting them all facing in the same direction. We were able to accomplish that, and it's worked out very well for us.
That's very, very important. I've been hearing that time and time again. Communication is really the key. During uncertain times, there's a great deal of fear, and more communication is definitely appreciated. Right strategy.
Well, being so many weeks into this, Linda, we're into a routine now that we've grown accustomed to. But when banks first started closing their lobbies and adopting their practices, all of us were in disbelief. We didn't see how this was going to work, and we were really reluctant and did not want to close our doors, our lobbies. It's amazing how we have transcended into helping our customers over the phone and through the drive-thrus, and we're in a groove now of taking care of our customers, opening accounts, doing loans. We have continued to open more accounts, grow our customer base, and so in that regard, we've adapted.
Well, obviously we've conformed to what the rest of the banking industry seems to have done. Our lobby is closed to public access unless by appointment. But we are making appointments on a fairly regular basis with the customers that need our services. But I would say primarily our customers are working through our drive-up, and that's fully functional.
So as an essential business, banks have remained open and continue to serve customers. What changes has your bank implemented for customers and employees during these times?
Well, our bank has kept most people at the branches. We have not sent, by design, a number of people home. We've spread out people in the branches. People who were just open in lobby formats have gone to offices where that may have been vacant at our branches. Of course, the whole world is honoring the social distancing, and that's what we're doing in our branches. That's one of the things we're doing, is just where people are working. A lot of our officers have met people over the hood of cars and signed documents, that kind of thing. I don't know how much more stressing we've had to do. Emphasis, I should say, on electronic access. I think our customers have just migrated to that. And there's a local bank here that's already opened its lobby. And for the first couple of days, they experienced very little lobby traffic. In other words, the customers have gotten used to this. And
Sure.
for whatever reservation or hesitation to coming into the lobbies, that's what they're experiencing right now. I'm sure over weeks and weeks and weeks it'll revert back, but that's what they're seeing right now.
At first, I think everybody was kind of the same, under the same feeling. There was so much uncertainty that customers were just very gracious and very accepting and appreciative of the extra safety measures. But as it's kind of gone waning and it's been going on and on, I think our customers are getting a little bit more impatient. Just in general, in life in general, and with their banking, we've put off like counting coin, some of those things that really aren't, unless you have a business that that thrives on coin. We've kind of shut off some of those services, and so we're getting people that are starting to be probably a little impatient about getting back to those services, but all in all, people are pretty understanding.
I would say 10 years ago, maybe 15, maybe even 20, the federal regulators made us come up with a pandemic awareness program. And at the time, I thought it was foolish. Like, do I need to have a policy when the Martians come down and visit? And, there was just policy after policy. But it's proven out to be prophetic as we go through this process. And we really just implemented that plan. So the first thing we did was, like probably most banks, we closed the lobby, kept the ATM stocked, kept the drive-through doubled up on it through employees and access, and opened the lobby with appointments only. So this is the time to plug UFS, is we had just gone through a conversion at the end of last year. So we had upgraded a lot of our products. We have, state-of-the-art app, iPhone app and the other phones app. We have a bill pay. We have all the services that a Citibank or a Chase Bank has now, and we had those implemented just in time for this, so that the interruption to our customer base was very mild compared to a big city area. Now, we're 100 miles north of Madison, and we only have in our county 2 coronavirus issues. And 17 hospitals that service this area. It's been very minimal. Probably all of them together had a handful of these things. So life is a little bit easier here than you'd find in the Madison or Milwaukee areas. So we've been able to stay with that strategy with contingency plans if everything ramped up, going to masks, going to plexiglass, going to these other kind of things. And so the employees are always made aware of plan B, plan C, plan D, but we've still just been able to hold our own in plan A, which has really been a very minimal interruption to our customer base.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. Having the plan it sounds very significant for your bank and being prepared, and also having the tools then available, the digital tools for your customers to continue with ease of doing their banking. It's great to hear.
Digital tools are a key to this, which is really great. Thanks to you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Banks have been instrumental in helping small businesses by distributing the stimulus funds through SBA's Payroll Protection Program. Could you share your experience with that program? And now that additional funds have been made available, will you be taking a different approach to the second round of applications?
Well, again, the whole program I would describe it as a bridge over to when America opens back up, and channeling so much money, billions of dollars, into all these communities and businesses, using the banks as a conduit. The program has been very choppy, meaning hurry up and then wait, or wait and then hurry up, I should say, with information. So we went through phase 1, I think over a little more than a week. Phase 2, to answer your question, guidelines for small businesses came out so late during the first phase that's primarily who we've been helping in the second phase. And I think many banks across the nation are helping more small businesses, sole proprietors, self-employed, borrowers, because guidelines became clear. And so loans are smaller, more people are being helped. In fact, this morning I just got an update that 181 billion of the 310 billion has been used. So that's slightly more than half, 60% of the funds or so have been used, which means 40% is still available. So it's kind of pacing itself, Linda. So when you say what's the experience been in the second phase, we've been helping more small businesses we know much better now what we're doing compared to phase one, and so we're in a groove with that as well.
You know, I've not been a big proponent of government programs and the SBA and those type of programs. Being a small community bank and not having so many rules and regulations has been a big reason for our success. However, this one, as I read through what was going to go on, there was a big chance to provide grants and really capitalization to some of these small businesses in my community that needed it. So I made the decision, I should say we made the decision on a Tuesday, I'm going to say, and we had never been an SBA lender, we had never done anything, and so we really hammered all our connections and tried to get accepted to be an SBA lender, and believe it or not, with the help of my daughter Mary, we were able to get SBA status by probably Thursday. So the fact that we got in and got it done was a compliment to us and to my daughter Mary. But I can picture it, community banks being like gunships. You know, we're able to turn our guns in one focus. So we pulled me off the loan desk, we pulled me off of being president of the bank, and we pulled Mary and me together to put this program together and let the rest of the bank run the way that it usually runs. And two of us together were able to process. As of today, I would say we've done maybe 100 of these loans at just short of $10 million. And we got them all in yesterday of all the ones that were on the back burner. And so we just have a couple more on the desk to go forward. And now I can go through my list to make sure that all my customer base is aware of the program.
Sure. We were before, we've always been a SBA approved lender. So we had access to the portal right out of the gate. There were some issues with some passwords and the system crashing at first. So, you know, we weren't in like the first day, but over a 3 or 4 day time as other banks were getting in, you know, we got in also. So were able to get on the front end of that. We processed a lot of applications. We reached out to our current business customers and, you know, asked them questions to find out if they might qualify for it. We scheduled appointments for them to get their paperwork in. Our loan officers found that if they worked through the night, the system was a little quicker. So we had them, you know, sleeping in the morning, coming in late afternoon, working through the night, and, you know, kind of running a night shift. We did try to stick with basically our customer base so that we could make sure that we could help them, you know, first, and make sure we got their applications in and their funding arranged for. And I'm going to see altogether, we probably funded about $5 million in PPP loans for our small $150 million bank. You know, that was pretty, you know, that's a pretty big feat for, you know, virtually 2 commercial loan officers.
Wow, that's very impressive. And especially the proactive approach that you took early on to reach out and really to see whether or not there was a need for that funding for some small businesses. That's a great approach.
Yeah. We knew that it was going to hurt a lot of our businesses. You know, we're in a kind of a high tourist area, so there's lots of restaurants and bars and, you know, gift shops and, you know, those places, some that were shuttered entirely. So we knew they were really going to struggle through this, and they were going to need our help. And so, you know, we were glad to be able to be on board with that right out of the gate. So.
Well, the pandemic has temporarily changed the way we live our lives. We have school conducted from home now, and many employees are working from their homes. Video conferences become a standard for conducting business and also for family get-togethers. Do you think that banking will see any permanent changes in the future as a result of this?
You know, that's an interesting question. In today's world, the short memory that people have, it sure seems like you would think that it would have an effect in the long run. But history shows us that these things are short-lived. And so I may be different than the trend right now, but I have a feeling that we will get back to life as usual.
I do. I think more customers who had hesitation or reservation about using some of the electronic access or the drive-through have been forced to, and now, just like anything, they may be more comfortable in the future with dealing with those kinds of access to the bank than they have been in the past. And so in that regard, there will be permanent changes. There's always going to be a need or a reason to come into the banks, a preference to come into the banks, perhaps with opening accounts, getting to know people, getting to know their banker, relying on their banker, especially when there's problems. There's a preference when debit cards have been blocked or for whatever reason to come in and hand that to somebody, although that's all being handled through the drive-through now. So I think the needle has been moved way over, and I think it's going to come back to some extent over time as comfort levels grow.
I think we've all had to adapt to some work at home situations, and maybe we were a little leery about how effective those could be in the past. And I think what we've learned through this is they can be quite effective. Do I think that'll be our preference going forward? No. We're still a very high touch business, and our clientele is very much wants that personal service and face-to-face visits. I think it will be nice in certain circumstances to have that availability and have it set up and ready to go. But I don't think in general we'll be utilizing that on a regular basis.
Have you found that your customers are turning to more of the digital tools available through banking now that there's a greater demand?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the exact numbers, but we signed up a lot of new internet banking users and bill pay users and our mobile app users, and set people up for remote deposit capture services. What we find in our area a little bit is that there's sporadic good internet connections. So amazingly, we added probably even more telebank customers, phone banking customers, than we added actual internet customers. But we did have quite a big number of increase in both. But we're finding the numbers going up on our telephone banking considerably, because a lot of our outlying areas just don't have good internet and even phone service in some instances. So.
Well, that makes perfect sense, and so happy that you have that available for your clients to use.
Yeah, we were very glad we didn't have to scramble to get those services set up. And I have to say that, without UFS, we wouldn't have been in that position, because they've been extremely helpful in helping us keep up on technology and offerings to our customers, for sure.
On behalf of Team UFS, I would like to thank Rob, Scott, and Kathy for sharing your experiences. Our entire UFS community continues to show the true spirit of what it means to be a community banker. Thank you for everything you're doing to serve your customers and your communities.